I think some jobs, we will not need humans to do them anymore. That getting outside, moving around, getting fresh air, connecting with nature actually has a positive impact on them.
Millennials, boomers, they were telling me, we were never inside the house. We were always outside. That's why we didn't have any depressions or stuff like that.
Right.
I was like, okay, that's fair.
Where you went and how expensive it was to get your bachelor's degree, amount of loan that you have to pay back, proportionate to the amount of money you're going to make annually.
If you could have a dinner with any historical figure, who would you have dinner with? Hello, everybody. This is my new episode. My name is Sava, and today I have a very interesting guest. Her name is Amy Diaz, and thank you very much for coming here.
Absolutely.
And if you can, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Amy Diaz, and I serve as the president of Gateway Community College, which is in Phoenix, Arizona, and part of the Maricopa Community College district. That includes 10 community colleges. And so Gateway is one of 10 of the community colleges in our system.
Great. And I would like to start with a very important topic, I think to pretty much the entire world today. It's the AI. And in your situation, in the education, how do you think AI changes the current education system, especially for the young teenagers?
Oh my gosh, it's such a rich topic, and there's so much to unpack around the use of artificial intelligence in education in general, even now considering our K-12 system and the ability for students who aren't yet in college to potentially use artificial intelligence to aid them in their learning and their creativity and the work that they do in our compensatory education model, right? So you've got that as one part of the equation, if you will, on this answer, that I don't feel as equipped to answer that other than to say, I'm sure it's all over the place. You know, in some school systems, especially in high schools, there might be an AI use policy that allows students to use AI to assist them in their learning. There might be some classes or programs that don't allow it at all. And there are probably some that allow students to use it for some things and not other things, right? So the complete gamut, which is in some way, I think, how I would characterize the acceptable use of artificial intelligence for students in community colleges also, because our faculty are they're in the position to decide based on their own class, their own curriculum, their own learning objectives and learning outcomes that they've set for students, whether AI can be used completely and in what ways, whether it can be used partially and in what ways, and whether it can be not used at all in their class.
Yeah, so I think with AI, I'm pretty sure ASU allows to use AI pretty much however you want it, because ASU has a whole partnership thing with OpenAI.
Yes.
So they kind of promote using AI.
Right.
But then when you use it too much, it becomes an actual problem because you don't study at all. So I think, in my experience, there can be a useful use of AI and horrible use of AI. So and there is this like very fine limit of where that crosses to each part. So I think it's very hard to say where it's very hard to control also students. How are they using it? Do they use it just a little bit to help here and there to save the time?
Right.
Or do they use it completely and just forget about their homework forever?
Well, and it's so interesting to me to consider this particular question because I think all of our opinions on this might continue to morph over time with the more experiences we have using it ourselves. I mean, I use a couple of different AI products to assist me in my work. I never consider it doing my work for me. It's not a substitute for what I'm doing. It enhances the work I'm doing. In some cases, it might even make some of the work that I'm doing, I might be more efficient in the way that I'm doing something. My productivity might be slightly increased, especially around things that are fairly perfunctory or fairly rote. But I didn't grow up having AI as a tool. And I think this is where the argument is so rich for people to consider, especially even thinking about the difference between ASU's approach to AI compared to just sort of generally community colleges, not necessarily even Maricopa community colleges, but just in general, community colleges, I don't think are out on the forefront of this work advocating for students to use AI in every possible way all the time, which might be a little bit of a mischaracterization for ASU, but that's sort of the difference, right? They're hugely different sort of leadership roles, if you will, and stances that people are taking. So the fact that we have faculty in community colleges and in universities who have such a wide spectrum of expectations and or thoughts around whether AI is a good tool, a bad tool, or maybe even an indifferent tool because it's just a tool, right? Just like Microsoft is a tool. That's really where the richness of the conversation lies, I think, is with faculty having more conversations with each other, and especially the early adopters and the faculty who are out there using it all the time. The benefit to their students could be more compelling if shared with faculty who are hesitant to use and promote the use of AI with their students for fear of fill in the blank, right? Whatever they might be worried about or threatened by, or that they might think, well, my curriculum is there to help students learn critical thinking and problem solving skills. And if all they're doing is throwing a prompt into AI and an AI tool and having it spit it back out, then how do I know that the student actually is developing their critical thinking and problem solving skills?
Yeah.
Right. So that's sort of the richness of the argument, I think.
Yeah.
But, I'm here to tell you the genie's out of the bottle, right? It's not going back in. We have to figure out now, and I think it's incumbent upon us as educators to then figure out acceptable uses of AI for students. They're going to expect and almost demand that of us more and more over time, right? Especially the students who do end up in high school or in high school right now, and they're being taught how to use it. They're not going to go to college and expect to be told now you cannot use it.
Yeah.
That's not going to meet their expectations. So it's incumbent upon us to figure out how do we retool what we do so that we can lead in a teaching and learning space by allowing some version of AI to be used, even if it's rethinking how to use it to teach critical thinking and problem solving skills.
Yeah, and then those students will be using AI in the future after the college in their jobs.
Absolutely.
If they're not going to be substituted with AI.
Well, exactly. Or they're going to have to learn how to use whatever AI is giving them in order to do the work that will be redefined for them as the human.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that there will be an elimination of jobs because of AI? Yes. But I don't know that means we'll have a decrease in the number of total jobs. I think some jobs, we will not need humans to do them anymore. But there'll be a new job that gets defined as a result of the use of AI that a human has to be trained to do.
Yeah. And
potentially the training will require them to use more critical thinking and problem solving skills in order to do that thing. So
pretty much
I
like
see
controlling AI and like overseeing AI.
It certainly could be. And right now, I don't think you and I have differentiated between agentic AI and generative AI, right? And the difference in my mind being generative AI is really a superpower Google search engine of sorts, right? That it's not creating anything new for you. It's only grabbing things that it has access to, right? And it's giving you a response back to your prompt. Agentic AI is a totally different situation because in the agentic space, the machine learning is actually making decisions on its own based on the information and acting more like a worker, if you will, or even a learner.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you've heard, but I will ask you about it. So I was recently listening podcast with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk said very like strongly and very, very seriously that in 7 to 10 years, pretty much most of the jobs are going to be eliminated, and the hobby of the people is going to be to go to work. So it's going to be like optional if you want to work or not. And he said pretty much most of the jobs are going to be taken over by AI. And his thought on it was, oh, it's a very good world to live in. You don't have to work and we'll get universal income. But then the Joe Rogan approach was completely different.
Yeah.
He said, well, then what are those people going to do? If especially if they don't have this a specific thing that they love to do every day, then what's they're going to do? So when you think about it, when you have so much time that you go to work, well, if you replace it with time that you don't know what to do,
right,
then it's not going to end very well and very optimistic.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. I mean, I have so many thoughts on this, but I think the biggest issue there is to actually unpack universal income. I don't know enough about that to know what that would look like.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't think that's going to work in the United States, but I'm not sure because, like I said, I don't know enough about it to know. But do I agree with Elon Musk's take on some jobs? I won't even say many. I won't qualify it in a way that I think that I know what I'm saying here numerically. But some jobs I do think will be eliminated because AI will be able to do it better, faster, cheaper, more efficiently with close to zero errors. Rote things. But again, my position's still going to be that those jobs will still need a person will still need to oversee what the AI product is doing for us, and that the handoff will still be to a human, and that the human will still have to do something. So what I'm not sure of yet is, will the number of jobs continue to either stay consistent or even grow as a result of AI? It sounds to me like Elon Musk's position is the number of jobs will drastically decrease and that there won't be a need for people to work. But because we place a commodity on money, and our whole barter system is that you need money in order to pay bills, in order to buy groceries, in order to pay rent, in order to buy a car or use Lyft or Uber, some sort of transportation
pretty
service.
Much do anything.
You have to have an income, right? So I think his logic might be flawed a little bit for where we are in this country right this minute.
100%. Back to the students. I've seen the chart and I'll pull it up right here, that pretty much ADHD and ADD are growing every year, especially for college students. So I wanted to ask you, do you think AI is going to make the situation even worse? Or do you think it's going to help the situation with rising ADD and ADHD every year? And what's your take on that?
Yeah, another great question. I wonder if the reason we're seeing an increase in ADD and ADHD diagnoses is because people are more aware of the symptoms and they're more comfortable actually seeking out professional help and medical help, either on behalf of themselves or if it's parents on behalf of their children. So I wonder what the correlation actually is. Are we seeing an increase because more people are more comfortable, identifying it and then seeking out medical assistance? Or are there behavioral things that we're introducing young people to that might actually be causing an increase in ADD and ADHD kinds of diagnoses?
Yeah.
So that would be one question I would have, right?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out that exactly same thing, but there is 100 studies on it, and I can't combine them all into one research and just read it and tell you here and there. But that's a good side of the coin. Then maybe we do, maybe we diagnose more, or maybe we don't.
But you could throw all of those studies into an AI tool and see what AI tells you about the synthesis of them. Yeah. So I guess I think it's probably both and. I guess I'm not informed in a way other than this is just my opinion. that there likely are some behavioral things that are causing younger people to have behaviors and or symptoms of ADD and ADHD that seem to be increasing. And part of my hunch on this is because I work with a faculty member at Gateway Community College. Dr. Andy Lennertz, he's a psychology professor, and he's done a lot of research on the positive impact of people getting outdoors and people interacting with nature, and in a positive way, the at least partial solution to someone who might have ADD or ADHD symptoms or have a diagnosis of that getting outside, moving around, getting fresh air, connecting with nature actually has a positive impact on them. So if you think of the positive impact that not connecting or disconnecting to electronics, as an example, has on you, then you might be able to flip the argument and suggest that yes, there probably is a negative impact from gaming and being on our computers and being on our phones and sitting sedentary inside our houses, not engaging with other people outside.
Yeah, and that's what my other guests were telling me, who were millennials, boomers. They were telling me, yeah, we were never inside the house. We were always outside. That's why we didn't have any depressions or stuff like that.
Right.
I was like, okay, that's fair. Can't argue with that. My next question would be also correlating to depression rates. So depression rates for Gen Z are way higher than for previous generations. And maybe it's due to the same fact that maybe there are more studies, maybe people care more, so they go and actually ask the doctor what do they have, get more diagnosed.
Right.
But I think there's actually more depressions in percentages comparing, and depression is one of the leading causes of college dropouts. Maybe it's been like that forever. So maybe it's been always the main cause of dropouts. But yeah, despite receiving awareness, less than half of the students who screened positive for depression receive therapy or counseling.
Right. So I might ask for a friendly amendment to the question just to include mental health challenges, which includes depression. But I think some of what our college students are experiencing still fits in the umbrella of mental health, but it's not specifically depression all the time. And depression might imply only a certain level of illness, if you will. But some people might be manic depressive and have bouts of being really, really high and then really, really low. Depending on where they're at in their cycle of that illness. So I do think that, again, whether it's just that people are more comfortable reporting their own mental health challenges to someone, it sounded to me like the statement that you made was that even when college students do reach out for help, they don't always get the help that they need. And I think that is probably a byproduct of a couple of things. I wonder about the level of insurance that college students might have, whether they're on their parents' insurance or not, whether their insurance policies allow for an adequate number of counseling visits or whatever kind of physician they might need to see to address the issue that they believe that they have. So I do wonder about the impact of insurance and maybe either being underinsured or uninsured and what impact that might have on college students who are saying, I'm not right and I need help, but I'm not getting the help that I need. The second part of that, I think, is universities and community colleges are designed differently. So students at a university likely do have the opportunity to meet with a medical professional within the university who can help them, either at a higher rate or the process is easier, let's say, for a university student to do that because universities have room and board packages. They have students living on their campuses.
Yeah.
And so they're more apt to treat the whole person. Community colleges are generally, don't have housing. Students are meant to live in the communities that they are then served by the community college. So they're not living on a college campus, they're living at home. So whatever their home situation is going to dictate perhaps more of how they end up being treated. But I do think there's probably a gap for us at the community college between the students saying, I need help, and our ability to actually get them connected to the right community resource. Like we can give them the resource, but then it is on them to go and seek the resource out. But there could be some opportunities for us to bridge that gap a little bit better, because I think if I put myself in the position of a student, if I've already gone to my community college counselor or faculty member or student life leader and said, I'm not feeling right, I feel really depressed, and what they give me is, here's a list of 15 people in the community that you can go reach out to, I might feel like I'm asking you to help me, and this is the help you get. Like I mustered up enough courage to even say this to you, and now I'm going to have to say it to someone who I don't even know. And now there's 15 people on a list, and I don't even know who to go to, right? So the handoff is probably where we can do better as a community college partner in helping students get to the services they need, even if we're not equipped to actually provide the service ourselves.
Yeah, and there's another, I don't want to say those bad things about your college, and pretty much I don't want to say these bad things about medical and therapist faculty in any colleges, but there are some examples of when depressed college guys or girls come up to a doctor, to therapists, and they say, yeah, I might have depression, can you diagnose me, see what we can do, I want to change myself, be a better version of myself. And then the doctors go, yeah, sure, here are the pills, we'll prescribe you the pills, don't worry about it. We're not going to study the exact root of the problem. Just
sure.
Here's the subscription for the pills. And
yes. Well, and that's where the person needs to be able to be a self-advocate, right?
Yeah.
And that's not always the easiest thing to do, especially when you're asking for help and you've said, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
And I think there are probably different outcomes for different types of people, because some people might actually be willing to take medication and the medication might actually help them feel better. Right? So that would be an example where someone provides medication and it helps the person. There might be a situation where a medical professional provides, wants to offer medication as the solution, and the person absolutely does not want to take medication. So then where does that go, right? If that's presented as a solution, but it really isn't adequate to the student, do they feel comfortable enough to say, no, I don't want to do that, I would rather go through therapy? Are you the right person to help me through therapy, or do you need to refer me to someone else?
Yeah.
And then there's the person in the middle who might want both, right? They might want therapy and medication. So I mean, you're asking such interesting questions.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I want to talk about related to students and universities and colleges and community colleges are the student loan debts. And again, a little research on my end with AI and with everything that I can find. So about $1.7 trillion, that's federal and private loans combined, is the total student loan debt just in USA.
Okay.
This makes student loans the second largest category of household debt after mortgages. So mortgages are the first, but student loans are the second. Roughly 42 million Americans carry student loan debt. And the average number for all of them is $30,000.
Okay.
So what's your thought on student loan debt? And do you think we have a chance to change the situation, or do you think it's only going to get worse every year? So I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, it's a complicated situation. and it's sort of layered. Do I think it's going to get worse? I don't really know if it's going to get worse on the one hand, because there is an opportunity, I think, for higher education to sort of reimagine itself and get students through programs quicker and into the workforce on a shorter path. I think that's what students want. I think that's what employers want. Does it mean that it's going to cost less to be trained just because you might be able to be trained faster? I don't know the answer to that part yet.
Yeah. And I remember we talked about off air. It also depends what major you're getting into.
Correct.
And you have to kind of understand that some majors are more perspective, let's put it that way, are more perspective than the other majors. So I think it's definitely sometimes it's kind of fault of the student, let's put it that way. But sometimes they don't know and they just have to make more research. Sometimes they need the advice from,
Right. And so the community colleges are doing a lot of this work right now as we review all of our programs and make sure that the program itself leads to a livable wage for the student completer. Mm-hmm. So if it's a standalone certificate or a standalone associate's degree, for example, and the student knows I'm going to go right out into the world of work, let's say in welding or in auto mechanics or in respiratory therapy, that our goal is to ensure that students can graduate from Gateway and make a livable wage. We do not want to graduate students from college into jobs that pay minimum wage. Or in other words, we don't want to graduate students from college into poverty, right? We don't want them to make less money than they can make without an education.
Yeah.
So we're looking at our curriculum, and even where the initial program, the initial certificate or associate's degree may not quite meet the living wage standard, that as long as there's a stackable credential for the student to be able to, let's use certified nursing assistant as an example. Mm-hmm. You go through the training program to be a CNA, you go out and work for probably only a couple of dollars an hour more than minimum wage.
Oh, wow.
Right. So that's not a livable wage forever. Like for that person's life in perpetuity, that's not going to do them well. But it gets them in the door of a hospital or a healthcare system where they can start learning about other jobs in healthcare that is likely going to require them to go back and get more training in order to do the next thing. But CNA leads to the next job, let's say the LPN, the licensed practical nurse. They're going to make significantly more money per hour than as a licensed practical nurse. Then the stackable from that, even if that's not quite the livable wage yet, it might be slightly lower than the livable wage standard. Then students can go on and go through an LPN to RN program and get their registered nursing degree. That's going to finally meet the living wage. And then anything a student would do above a registered nurse, like get their bachelor's degree in nursing or get their master's or nurse educator, or whatever else they would do, is always going to then be above the living wage. We need to do the work to make sure every single program we offer has a stackable pathway. And right now, not everything we offer, we community colleges in general, or I can even say we Gateway Community College specifically, we don't have all the pathways built out. So that's on us, right? That's the burden that we should carry on behalf of students who are exploring and trying to figure out what they want to do, because not only because it allows them to have a livable wage, but we want them to want to do the work that they're interested in doing, get trained in it, and see the pathway to the living wage or higher, right? So we've got some work to do on our end through the academic advising process. We want to make sure that students know from the beginning what they're getting into.
Yep.
And then that would be true at a university also, because there might be some bachelor degree programs that you end up in that don't pay a livable wage by our standards in Maricopa County, let's say.
Yeah.
So teaching might be one of those professions, right? That
it's like one of the most important professions out there.
Yes.
And from what I've heard of, it's not the best paying job.
Right. The pay doesn't follow the significance of the work.
Yeah.
Right. And so that challenge isn't going to be solved by the college. And then you have to layer in how much loan money did students need to take out to get through those programs?
Yeah.
Because not every student probably needs to take out a loan. But I would argue that the students who likely are in the worst financial situations just by way of their own family dynamic and value higher education as a way to get them out of that financial situation that maybe does not allow them to have a living wage, taking on a ton of loan debt is not going to help them in the long run, because even if you're a person who wants to be a teacher and you need to take out loans in order to get through your bachelor's degree, you're going to end up making, I think, is it $45,000 a year starting pay in Arizona, something like that.
Yeah.
And then depending on where you went and how expensive it was to get your bachelor's degree in teaching, then, is the amount of loan that you have to pay back proportionate to the amount of money you're going to make annually? So that's really the big question. I would argue that even for a student who wants to go to law school or medical school, because those training programs are just more and more and more expensive, you're in school longer and longer and longer, you have to take out more debt. You take out more loans, at least.
Yeah.
Do you make more money? Yes. But have you taken out more loan debt? Is it proportionate? I don't know. We'd have to look at the figures, right, to know that for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And as a president of Gateway Community College, do you feel any difference in any case, in any scenario, in any departments since our administration changed?
Yes. I definitely do. Not necessarily related to the value of the program itself, but I do feel that community colleges have, well, all higher education, but specifically because I lead a community college, we have an obligation to not only train students and create educational learning opportunities for them to be subject matter experts in whatever it is they're choosing to study, but also to ensure that they are civically minded, that they're able to appreciate humanity, that they feel like they're an informed and contributing member of society. And I do think it's that in some ways our jobs have been made harder in those areas, not the subject matter expertise necessarily. I think, from what I'm tracking right now, and in our state, faculty can still teach what they want to teach within the confines of the student learning objectives for their courses. It's tougher in the co-curricular space for us, I think. It's more difficult to address students' needs based on race and ethnicity, even gender. So yes, I think I've definitely seen a change. I've definitely seen what community colleges have maybe really leaned into over the last 10 years. An example being, we're a Hispanic serving institution by way of federal definition, because more than 25% of our students identify as being Latinx. And so that meant that we were eligible for federal grant money to design programs specifically to help students who identify as of a particular race.
Yeah.
And that will now be disrupted in a way that the money won't be tied to the work. But federal grant opportunities might exist to increase the number of students going through particular trades programs instead, right? So the money will get redirected. Our core business is still our core business, but I do think that the executive orders that have gone into effect over the last 6 to 9 months have made it harder for us to do our jobs.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
At this time of the podcast, I'll ask you quick questions.
Sure.
And hopefully you can answer them quickly.
Okay.
But if not, you can think about it.
Okay.
First question. What's one lesson school never taught you, but life did?
Ooh, a lesson that school never taught me, but life did, I think, is to listen more and talk less. Right? Be interested in the people that you're talking with, and that if they're offering something that you really want to listen to, really listen to it.
100%. If you could have a dinner with any historical figure, who would you have dinner with?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there would be several on my list. Oh gosh. I mean, I would say Jane Addams, one of the first women pioneers in education. Gosh, can they be living or dead?
Yeah, they can be living or dead.
I mean, Barack and Michelle Obama, they would be on my short list. Michael Jordan would be on my short list of people who I'd love to meet. I'm a big music fan and live music fan. And so I love the Police. So Sting would be on my list of people who I'd want to meet. Yeah, it's a great question.
Sounds good.
Let's get them all together in the same room.
Okay. What's one unpopular opinion you stand by no matter what?
Ooh, an unpopular opinion. Oh gosh, that's a good question. It's a tough one. Maybe the fact that I guess I tend to be someone who's fairly pragmatic. And so I feel like sort of getting down to business is okay, and that it should be maybe more valued than what it is, because I do think a lot of times people rightfully so place a lot of value on the human connection more than they focus on the work. So I'm thinking of this specifically at work.
Okay.
Right? Like just getting down to business.
Okay, so less talking, more work.
Maybe.
Kind of
yes. And that's not a super popular thing, right? Especially for me as the president to say.
Yeah, 100%.
But I do subscribe to that myself. So.
Okay. If you had a chance, let's say today or tomorrow, to sit with Trump and talk to him, what would you ask him?
What would I ask President Trump? Oh my gosh. I don't think I would ask him anything political. It's an interesting question, because I don't even feel like I know enough about him to know what I would be interested in knowing more about him as a human and more about him as a person. But maybe because I do lead a college, I would ask him about his views on higher education and some of the questions you've asked me. The significant amount of debt that our students need to take on.
Okay.
And what would his thoughts and feelings be on helping our community, our students be able to still get a college education without going into that much debt to do it?
You know what I would ask him? I would ask him, how do you sleep at night?
Oh, good one.
And I'll just leave it like that.
Yes. Oh, Sava, that's so good. That's a great question.
Okay. And this is the question I ask all of my guests, and it's going to be the last question.
Sure.
What's the hardest truth you ever faced?
The hardest truth I've ever faced. Wow. Another really, really great question. I mean, maybe it's the question that I think people tend to ponder fairly regularly, which is science versus religion when it comes to creation and evolution, right? And so I don't know that I know the truth, but that might be the truth that I'm trying to face, is the reconciliation of a scientific explanation of why we exist compared to a religious.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome.
And see you next time.
Thank you for having me.